Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you. The holidays are here and seasonal cheer is all around. Take a journey through the Hoosier holiday traditions of the past, present, and hopeful future. Celebrate Christmas by candlelight at the Wylie House Museum in Bloomington, Indiana. Meet the Hoosier president who introduced Christmas trees to the White House at the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site. Welcome Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band for some festive sounds to get you into the season. And discover your inner child at Veach's Toy Station in Richmond, Indiana, voted the state's favorite toy store. Travel through almost 200 years of Hoosier holiday traditions right now on the weekly special. Welcome to the weekly special. I'm Erica Sagone. As Indiana commemorates its bicentennial, explore how the holiday season has changed throughout the centuries. Christmas hasn't always been celebrated with bright lights and shimmering tinsel. Step back in time as one historical home shares the subtler approach to the season. A walk along 2nd Street just east of downtown Bloomington suddenly reveals a unique brick home with an interesting past. But this time of year, volunteers can be seen there preparing the structure for a joyous celebration. A celebration that is best appreciated when the winter sun disappears and the flickering light of candles brings the house to life.
Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's thought when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
The Wylie House is the 1835 home of the first president of Indiana University. And Indiana University was established in 1820, and the President Wylie and his family came around 1828 and built the home here a few years later.
We are the official greeters and directors, so people don't know which way to go, which way to enter in the house.
The annual candlelight open house has been going on for years now. It's our way of giving back and saying thanks for supporting us. It's also our way of introducing the museum to people who might not come otherwise. The first floor of the museum is lit by candlelight throughout because, of course, in 1835, when President Wylie and his family were here, they would have been lighting the home by candlelight. This gives us an opportunity to open the house up in the evening and share what it might have looked like during that time period. And docents are there to greet our visitors in period attire.
The Wylies had 10 children and usually had 1 or 2 boarders here in the house, so there were a lot of people in the house and a lot of people to cook for.
Mark Weidenmayer is a volunteer community pianist. He comes and he plays the 1795 pianoforte that we believe is original to the Andrew Wylie family. He'll play mostly carols, and community members and Wylie House volunteers will sing along with him throughout the evening in the parlor of the museum.
Children laughing, people passing, eating smile after smile, and on every street corner you'll
We have 2 students playing classical guitar. They'll be over in the dining room of the museum. They'll also move around a little bit. They'll join Mark on the piano for a little while. They'll come over to the Education Center for a little bit as well.
On Christmas Eve, Ben got Santa's letter. He really hoped it'd make everything better.
Over in the Education Center, we'll have a story time for children.
We moved and we don't have a chimney anymore. Please come through the dryer vent.
We have the Horseshoe Bend String Band, who's been playing here, graciously volunteering their time and talents for the past several years as well. They're always a hit. We have carolers, and they're a professional group, the Dickens Carolers. We're really thrilled to have them this year. People really enjoy the opportunity to see the house glowing. It's a really beautiful home. The interior is beautifully decorated and well done, and then to add the candlelight really adds to its charm and ambiance and helps us to offer another way to interpret it historically that people don't generally get a chance to see.
This was the last event of the year for the Wylie House Museum, but they will reopen in the spring for tours. Learn more at their website, libraries.indiana.edu. As the country marched toward the turn of the century, Indiana's holiday traditions changed with the time. But one particular Hoosier had a unique impact on the season, not just for the state, but for the country.
Walking along Delaware Street, just north of downtown Indianapolis, is just like being transported to the Victorian era, especially during Christmas season. But one home harbors history above any of its neighbors: the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site.
Benjamin Harrison was the 23rd President of the United States. Some call him America's Hoosier President. So he was the only president elected from the state of Indiana. While he was not a Hoosier by birth, he was a Hoosier by choice. He was actually born in Ohio, but came to Indiana as a young lawyer and was starting to build a reputation as a lawyer when the Civil War broke out. At the time, you could hire a surrogate, but he was very involved civically, and Governor Morton actually had a conversation with him, letting him know about President Lincoln's call for more soldiers from Indiana, and Harrison volunteered. He said, "If I'm needed, I will go." And so, of course, young family, 2 small children, no promise of future prospects, but really recognized that duty as a citizen to go to war in support of the things that he valued most. And so when you're looking at a place like this and thinking about why it deserves additional recognition, why somebody should be memorialized in this way, it's not just about their service as a president. It's about that whole of a life leading up to the presidency and why their fellow citizens thought that they were worthy of that office, and really what brought them to that level of recognition.
After the war, Harrison returned to Indianapolis and to his law practice, but stayed active in the state and national politics. He tried 15 cases in front of the Supreme Court, served as Indiana's United States Senator, and in 1888 he left his beloved Hoosier home for Washington, D.C., where he was inaugurated as the Centennial President 100 years after George Washington.
President Harrison's legacy is important to our country from a number of different perspectives. I'd say first and foremost, he was right at the crossroads of the presidency. So right in that transition from 19th century America to 20th century America, he himself made a number of priorities as president that have resounded through the 20th century, with the priorities that have been set by modern presidents. He was very interested in conservation and actually called for and signed the Forest Reserve Act, and was able to use that to set aside 13 million acres of federal land. He also was very focused on African American voting rights and civil rights, And so he actively sought legislation that would have protected it. And it wasn't really until the Civil Rights Act that that full vision came to be. But that was a priority that he had set forward.
The turn of the century created many unique challenges that Harrison tackled throughout his presidency. Facing an aging population of Civil War soldiers, he established benefits for disabled veterans and their families, opened Ellis Island to manage rapidly increasing immigration, and passed the nation's first antitrust laws and dramatically expanded the United States Navy. But his no-holds-barred approach to change took a toll on his reputation.
People would characterize Harrison as icy or cold, but for those that knew him and for his family, they described him as a very warm, caring family man. That's really evident in the interactions with his children and with his grandchildren. That's especially highlighted, I think, in his time in the White House. He and his wife Caroline were the first to have a decorated tree in the White House. And Benjamin Harrison himself dressed up for his grandchildren as Santa Claus. You can imagine this as being a very touching scene, President of the United States wearing a Santa Claus outfit to bring joy and delight to the hearts of his grandchildren. So we bring some of those great stories and traditions into our retelling of the Harrisons and being able to share that greater Harrison legacy.
When Harrison's wife Caroline died in 1892, Harrison's daughter assumed the role as First Lady. Her children became instant celebrities. When Harrison failed to secure the second term, he moved his family back to Indiana, married and had a child with his second wife Mary Dimmick, and returned once again to his law practice.
He continued to live in Indiana and to live in this house until his death in 1901. The house itself was built in 1874, and the Harrisons moved in 1875. And it's a beautiful Italianate mansion. It's about 10,000 square feet in all. 75 to 80% of what you see is actually original to the Harrisons. And we have over 10,000 artifacts that are part of our greater collection. So when you're touring through the house, you get to have an inside glimpse at the life and ways of an American president. So the things that he surrounded himself with, the way that his family lived and interacted with their greater community, getting a really personal glimpse of what life was like and how that still is relevant to today.
And sharing that message with younger generations is the central part of their mission, welcoming over 17,000 children each year through school tours and special programs like the Future Presidents of America Camp. During the holiday season, the home holds such events as the Candlelight Theater's 'Twas the Night Before Christmas and the walking tour of Delaware Street's finest historic homes.
The Harrisons really celebrated Christmas, and I think that it was important to them. They had a very strong personal faith and were recognized for that in the community. And so it's an honor for us as an organization to be able to bring some Christmas traditions to life ourselves and give the opportunity for our greater community to be able to explore and enjoy and celebrate alongside, really as we celebrate that spirit that enlivens all of us throughout the year.
The Candlelight Theater's production of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas is going on now, as well as holiday tours. Find all event information at presidentbenjaminharrison.org. Well, nothing quite gets you in the festive mood like listening to holiday tunes. Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band is known for their driving musical blend of traditional styles and modern tones. They'll be on the show after the new year, but are here now to help us get in the spirit.
Sleigh bells ringing Christmas time, it's the best time of the year. But if you ain't got money, folks, it's a fine line between hope and fear. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. If you ain't got money, folks, tell you what I do. Go downtown and trade your blood, maybe for a 10 spot or two. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. I've been dreaming of a Christmas white, where inside everybody's warm. There's foot tracks in the snow outside, and needle tracks all up and down my arm. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year. Hard times and Christmas cheer. I'll be giving plasma for Christmas this year.
Reverend Peyton's Big Dam Band will be performing at the annual New Year's Eve celebration at the Bluebird in Bloomington, Indiana. Learn more at bigdamband.com. For 78 years, Veach's Toy Station in Richmond, Indiana, has been helping Santa fulfill the wish lists of children across the state, a tradition that continues today.
In 1938, after traveling across the Midwest, working for the company that would later become Kmart, Louis Veach decided it was time to settle down with his young family, choosing the town of Richmond, Indiana to start his very own five and dime store. So Veach bought and sold everything that he could get his hands on, from linens to soups, baskets to bread, but most particularly toys.
Toys are what was our calling card here at the store. That was what we were known for in the community. The whole downtown area was full of five and dime type stores, and the community would know the owners. They would know the people that worked there. They had a personal relationship with their customers. I started working here when I was 8 years old. I'd come after school and I put prices on merchandise. As I got older, I eventually learned how to run the cash register and count back change to customers. I learned, the value of treating your customers right and putting a smile on their face, make them feel happy to come here.
John eventually became the third-generation owner. He knew that the store needed a way to continue to serve the community with the growing competition of big box stores and online retailers. So in 1996, the Veaches decided to dedicate their entire 16,000 square foot store to the one thing that they were known for in the community: toys.
It's almost not a job. I hear customers say all the time, "Oh, you must get a play all the time here in the store." And we do. We have a lot of fun doing that. And it takes me back to when I was a kid. We're a specialty toy store in the fact that these are toys you don't see advertised on television. These are toys that have a lot of play value, that are educational. We want the kids to use their imagination. So many times I'd see parents, they'd buy a toy and the child will play with it for 5 or 10 minutes and then never go back to it again. We try to pick toys that kids are going to play with day after day, week after week, month after month, because the most expensive toy is a toy that's not played with.
So being a family-owned business, there's the obvious things like good quality and something that's going to last, something that's fun, something that's good value. But there's also, the fact that we're a hard-working small business. We love to be able to find those toys that other people are making in their basements, for starters. And we love those stories about how ideas come into being, into creation of a new toy. And when we can find those things, when you hear why they made the toy, of course you want to bring it here. You want to retell their story. So it's promoting family, it's promoting small business. You feel a connection to the toy, you know the purpose, you feel the passion in it, and that makes it all complete.
Hoosier artisans are featured throughout the store, from handmade dolls to books that take place right here in Indiana. And the Veaches take great pride not just in sharing the story of a toy, but sharing the toys themselves. In addition to sponsoring game days to introduce parents and children to new products, PlayStations dot each department with toys set out to encourage interactive play.
Kids just, they light up. I mean, they see how fun it is. When they can come in and they know they can play with the toys and not get in trouble. That's fun. Seeing the reaction of the adults and the kids is fabulous.
For the Veaches, an important aspect of their business extends beyond the doors, going into the community and classrooms to introduce parents and teachers to new products, hosting craft days, and even selling toys made by the local Boy Scouts to help fundraise for upcoming trips.
It's important for kids to have fun and to learn, by helping them in the classroom with our teachers' aides, helping them at home, helping them with their social skills, with their problem-solving skills. And that's kind of our mission, is to be an asset to the community.
Veach's is unique in this community and has such a great foundation and great loyalty. So many people connect Veach's with Richmond for good reason. We've been here a long time. I think it's important to support that because you don't want to lose the identity of a community, what makes it special, what makes it stand out.
And the Veach's toy experience has become a vital part of many local family traditions. From annual trips to the Veach Birthday Castle, where children get to pick out a special gift and ring the birthday bell, to free gift wrapping and layaway options to help Santa hide presents from snooping eyes. It's provided John and Sherry a unique opportunity to connect with their friends and neighbors.
Gosh, seeing new parents come in and watching their children grow from newborns to toddlers, to grade schools, and they come and evolve, and it's neat seeing how their minds work, what kind of toys they gravitate to. Parents come in and they say, we bought a microscope here, and now my son or daughter is into science, and they're pursuing that maybe in college. They got their start here in our science department. And then as those kids grow up, then they come back when they have their own kids. They want their kids to have that same experience. So we get to know our families very well. We get to know mom and dad and brothers and sisters, and even the family dog will come in sometimes. So that's really neat.
We just saw a 3-generation family here over the weekend, and they were introducing the new grandbaby to the store and said, we'll be here many more times. One of my favorite memories was right after John and I bought the business from his parents. I was working up in the office with John, and down below us was a little sound that came across from a small child. I think it was a little boy who just said, wow. And I looked over at John and he said, that's the best part of this job. So just the pure joy that comes from witnessing that on a daily basis is really cool.
Find your perfect seasonal gift at Indiana's favorite toy store. Get hours and directions at veachstoystation.com. Well, that's it for tonight. Have a happy holiday. And once again, enjoy Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band as they give us a sneak peek at their New Year's Eve performance. Good night. Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.